All right, let's just get right into it. Twice a year, we all do that collective groan, right? We walk around our houses manually changing every single clock we own. Well, the ones that don't update themselves anyway. We lose an hour of sleep, we gain it back, and the cycle just keeps going. But recently, there's been a massive legislative push in the United States to stop changing our clocks forever. It sounds like a dream come true, doesn't it? Well, in this explainer, we're unpacking this monumental shift in timekeeping. We're going to look at the politics, the history, and most importantly, we're going to reveal a highly ironic scientific plot twist that you literally will not see coming. So just imagine for a second. What if we literally never had to change our clocks again? Like ever. Imagine a world where that total physical exhaustion from the biannual time change is finally just a thing of the past. No more waking up feeling like you got hit by a truck in the spring, and no more leaving work when it's pitch black outside in the fall. I mean, it's a wildly popular idea. For most of us, leaving behind the mental and physical toll of essentially jumping time zones in our own bedrooms, we do it in a heartbeat. Which brings us to Section 1, the push for permanent time. Because of all that universal frustration, we get the Sunshine Protection Act. This is a historic bill, and its whole goal is to permanently end this clock-changing practice, a tradition we've been strictly enforcing nationwide since the 1960s. The core idea here? Just pick one time and stick with it. But specifically, this bill proposes making daylight saving time permanent. That means ditching standard time completely for most of the country. No more falling back in November, and we get to enjoy extra evening daylight all year round. And honestly, what's really incredible here is just how popular this is among lawmakers. When this bill hit the U.S. House of Representatives, it passed with a massive 308 to 117 majority. In today's political climate, seeing that level of overwhelming bipartisan support, it's incredibly rare. Representatives from all over the map basically agreed. The constant disruption to our sleep is reason enough to finally just stop shifting the clocks.
But moving on to Section 2, the Senate standoff.
Right, so a bill doesn't become a law just because the House likes it. Over in the Senate, Majority Leader John Thune warned that actually getting the required 60 votes is going to be pretty difficult. Why? Because lawmakers have deeply conflicting views on what happens next. On the for side, you have high-profile figures like former President Donald Trump arguing that permanent daylight saving time gives us extra evening light in the winter, and that's a massive boost for economic activity and retail. People are out shopping, they're eating out. But then on the against side, voices like Arkansas Republican Senator Tom Cotton are raising some really severe safety concerns. They're pointing out that farmers, construction workers, and really importantly, young children heading to school, well, they'll be forced to commute in absolute pitch black darkness during those winter mornings.
And the crux of that concern comes down to the stark reality of those winter mornings. Think about it. Under permanent daylight saving time, in certain northern parts of the country, the sun wouldn't even rise until 9 a.m. in the dead of winter. 9 a.m. Just imagine getting up, having your breakfast, driving to work, or putting your kids on a school bus, all while it literally looks like the middle of the night outside. That is a profound shift in how we would actually experience our daily lives.
And that leads us to Section 3, History's Dark Warning. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, well, surely we can just try it out, see how it goes? Well, the United States actually has tried permanent daylight saving time before. We aren't just theorizing about these dark mornings. We actually lived through them. So during World War II, the U.S. implemented permanent daylight saving time to save energy. Then years later, during the 1974 energy crisis, Congress decided, hey, let's try this again. But spoiler alert, that 1974 experiment failed miserably. The public backlash was immediate, and it was intense. Why? Because kids were getting into accidents while waiting for their school buses in the pitch dark. It was terrifying. The outcry was so fierce that Congress was actually forced to repeal the law that very same year.
All right, here is Section 4, the scientific plot twist.
And this brings us to the massive plot twist I promised you. In this really rare, honestly kind of hilarious moment of overwhelming political agreement, lawmakers finally united to stop the clock changes, only for the global scientific community to immediately wave a giant red flag. They essentially said, great job stopping the clocks, but you picked the completely wrong time. Take Dr. Laura Bojerskaty, for example. She's a renowned neuroscientist and sleep researcher from the University of Oslo, and she sums this up perfectly. She absolutely welcomes the end of the biennial clock changes, but she points out a massive flaw in the American bill. According to her, and really the broader scientific community,
Permanent standard time is vastly superior and highly beneficial compared to permanent daylight saving time.
Let's dive into why in Section 5, our biological clocks. To really grasp why scientists are so adamant about this, we have to look inward. You see, this debate isn't just about the economy or when we prefer to have a backyard barbecue. It ultimately comes down to the critical, undeniable needs of our own biological clocks. Our bodies run on a natural rhythm. Standard time perfectly aligns with the sun, and that is just the natural order of things. When we're on standard time, the bright morning sunlight naturally stimulates our internal biological clocks. It is quite literally one of the strongest signals our body receives to wake up, stay balanced, and regulate our internal systems. Daylight saving time, on the flip side, artificially offsets our clocks from the sun's natural progression. In fact, in her really well-known book, 300 Questions and Answers About Sleep, Dr. Bojarskaite outlines this incredibly important concept. It's called social jet lag. Social jet lag happens when our biological clocks are still anchored to the old time, the sun's time, but our social routines, our morning alarms, our work schedules, they are abruptly forced an hour forward. It's the literal physical toll of our biology being completely, totally out of sync with our required daily routines. And look, even though 1 hour seems small, like no big deal, our biological clocks are just incredibly sensitive to that sudden shift. And the consequences of this social jet lag? They are staggering. Just look at the immediate health toll in the first few days after we spring forward. Research actually proves we see massive spikes in sleep deprivation, crushing fatigue, and a severe lack of focus. But wait, it actually gets worse. This biological confusion leads to a documented increase in workplace and road accidents, and even a terrifying rise in heart attacks and cardiovascular issues. And yeah, sure, falling back in the autumn gives us that extra hour of sleep, but it still knocks our bodies out of their natural balance temporarily. So the big takeaway from the scientific community is crystal clear here. The sun is the main clock for our brain and body. Global sleep and circadian health organizations universally agree that natural light alignment, which we get to permanent standard time, is absolutely crucial for our long-term physical and mental health. Any time zone we pick moving forward absolutely should prioritize that natural alignment, because ending the constant switching, yeah, that's a huge win for public health, but locking into the wrong time forever could basically negate those benefits entirely. Which leaves us with this final critical question. As the Sunshine Protection Act just sort of sits there in legislative limbo, when deciding the permanent future of our time, will lawmakers ultimately listen to the economic arguments for extra evening light, or will they listen to the undeniable biological realities of our own bodies? It's a decision that will literally shape our days, our health, and our mornings for generations to come. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep your eyes on the clock.